On PM Express tonight, the Chereponi violence, finding lasting peace to tribal conflict. And it's been raging for the past few days. And from what we hear from the police, it is escalating and expanding beyond the Chereponi district. We're hearing that parts of Yindi have been affected tonight, Bunkrugu Yoyo as well, and other districts have been affected. The police tonight is sending an appeal for additional resources, particularly vehicles, to reach out those areas still cut off where people are still trapped in the midst of the violence. That's how serious this is. And so let's look at what has been happening in the last few days. 8 persons, we understand, have so far been arrested as a result of the violence that we've seen in that part of the country. A number of locally manufactured weapons have also been seized in the wake of all the violence that we've seen as well. Now, this is the latest casualty numbers, fatality numbers that we are getting from Chereponi, the Chereponi district. 3 people we know are now dead. In fact, even this, there are many in the affected areas who say this number is far more than 3. The police report 2, Nanmo says 3, and if you speak to the residents who are actually on the ground and seen a lot of the damage, they talk about far more fatalities. And this is something that we'll be getting into as we try and unravel the extent of the carnage on the ground there in Chereponi. Hundreds of homes have been burnt already. We know now more than 1,800 people have been left this place. The worrying thing about this is it includes many children and women who are fleeing this part of the country. There's a very powerful picture of the police commander who is giving his own water to some of these children and mothers who have been left and caught up in the conflict. And many of them are fleeing to neighboring countries like Togo, because Chereponi, it's very close to Togo, and so people are walking into Togo and fleeing to other areas for shelter. The police tell us tonight that they are providing some sort of support and escort for those fleeing the conflict in the northeast region of the country. And we know that they are also picking information that communities near Saboba is under attack also. Just as in the last few hours we've been hearing this. The police confirm that this is spreading to other areas. And why has this been an issue? We know that it follows the renewed clashes between the Kokumbas and Chokosis, which happened over the weekend. The thing, though, is that the cause of the latest clash is unknown. But there have been many who've linked this to a fight that erupted between the Chokosis and the Kokumbas over a piece of land last year. But those in the community say the latest incident all happened when one person was shot and killed in the part of the country over the weekend, which really has sparked all this fighting there, leading to many loss of life that we've seen. Government says it is committed to ensuring sustained peace and harmony in the area. The police have told us today that one of the key things they want to see is more resources. They've had additional police, additional military, additional police brought in to assist with the situation. That hasn't helped really to completely bring the situation under control. The police have told us today that they've managed to bring this under control somewhat, is the phrase they use, which means that it's been since Saturday, and we are still where we are with the violence not entirely under control as far as that part of the country is concerned, and it appears to be spreading as well. They're asking for vehicles as one of the key things the police is asking for. And I was making the point today when I had a police officer say this, that it's very rare to hear the police tell you on live national radio that they lack resources to be effective in dealing with the raging conflicts, such as we have in the Chereponi in the northeast region. So for the police to say that publicly, it must tell you that this is such a serious matter that needs all state attention to try and fix. Now, one of the key things also that has come up is that study that the report presented by the committee, and this is the committee tasked to investigate the root causes of this problem and the violence that we've seen and implement its recommendations. It's a committee that looked into this. In fact, this report we heard from the ranking member on the the Defense and Interior Committee in Parliament today say that he hasn't seen it. But there are recommendations in this report that were supposed to deal with the root causes of the problem that we've seen in that part of the country. But we haven't seen much in terms of its actual implementation. We'll be getting into that today. So the fundamental question remains, how do we restore lasting peace in the area? And it's a fundamental question that we'll examine, because this has been a running battle between many of the rival groups there. Just this January, 4 people were killed. And then a few weeks later, we have this prolonged conflict re-erupting. How do you deal with this? We've seen the example of Yendi, the Dagbon issue. It's like for decades, but we found some solution. If we don't tackle this now, can it degenerate into something else? And what would it take to fix this? That's what we'll be exploring today with those who know. Stay with us here on PMS. When we return, we'll be getting into that and also trying to find out the situation right now as people flee Chereponi. And you are live on PM Express tonight. The situation in Chereponi is one that is generating a lot of attention, but also because there are many lives at stake as far as this situation that is unfolding is concerned. I know there's a lot of military reinforcement that have been sent into Chereponi. We are talking tonight, and these are NATMO figures, more than 1,800 people displaced, including women and children displaced in that part of the country. Plus, we also know that at least 3 people have been killed, and that is a seriously conservative figure, as we've heard from the ground as well. Police stage 2, NATMO says 3. Police tonight have said that they want reinforcements in. My guest in the studio is Adam Bonar, security analyst, also the chief executive of the Security Warehouse Limited. Salif Said, the Northern Regional Minister, was supposed to be here. We had booked him and had arranged to be here because he's the chair of the Security Council there in the region, but he is not coming. He just called us to say he's unable to make it into the studio. However, as you can see on your screens, the National Network Coordinator, WANEP, Albert Yayang, is joining us via Skype on this one. Let me start with you, Adam Bonar. So we heard tonight the police say on my show on radio that they are asking for additional vehicles. The reason they say this is, and this is according to Mr. Tanko, who is the spokesperson for the Regional Police Command, that the conflict has spread beyond the Chereponi district where it started. Part of Yendi has been affected, and Yendi is a very, very delicate situation already. Bunkugu, you mentioned one more district that has been affected by this, and there are many places that their resources simply cannot reach, in spite of the reinforcement that they've been given in terms of personnel. And one of the things he requested from national security and from military, etc., is vehicles so they can travel and reach those areas affected. Is that usual in your practice for Ghana police in the midst of conflict to make an appeal such as that on radio? What does that tell you?
Yeah, good evening to viewers. It's very unusual. It means they are overstretched. It just tells you how under-resourced they are, and coupled with the humanitarian crisis staring at them, especially, or staring at us. And you know the way we do our things in this country, if they don't speak up, chances are that someone is going to blame them for not calling for additional resource. I, in fact, have spoken to some of them on the ground in the regional command, and they have openly requested for these vehicles. I'm happy they also did that through your 6 p.m. news. And additionally, they also have requested for motorbikes. And the simple reason is that sometimes this drive-by shootings and those who are burning the villages, these villages are so widespread in the sense that, and so it makes it very difficult for them to be able to move to these areas and be able to bring this situation under control. But the truth is that this is not normal times. It tells you how under stress and overwhelmed the police in the region, finds itself, and therefore there is a need to call, the attention of the executive, hoping that, some vehicles and resources, would be put to their use to be able to bring the situation under control, probably for maybe a number of days. But looking at it, it looks like coming to your studio, I've been on the phone with people on the ground, and it's still going on, where even though the police and the military have brought, a section of the communities under, under attack, they try bringing the situation under control. It keeps moving from one community to the other. It calls for probably that national attention, where the executive, hoping that the president would have to make a statement. I mean, I am old enough to have not present in, the conflict in 1994, but I, saw people who, came traumatized. Some of them got completely damaged. And it looks like this whole thing, the rate at which it's, spreading could develop into something else if the executive doesn't speak and we don't probably garner all the resources we can to put it, to use over there.
Yeah, let me bring in Albert Yayang, National Network Coordinator of ONEP. Mr. Yayang, we're just commenting on the latest situation in Chereponi district. In fact, it's not even accurate anymore to limit this to Chereponi district, because the police themselves have told us that this is spread beyond Chereponi district, part of Yendi, part of Bunkunugu, other parts of the Northeast district, Northeast region have been affected. The police are asking for additional resources tonight, including vehicles to reach areas where they haven't reached. 1,800 people so far, more plus displaced. 3 people dead so far. Countless number of homes destroyed. I know you've been doing a lot of work in that part of the country, helping with the official structures to try and bring peace. What is your own understanding of the situation tonight?
Good evening. Good evening to your listeners. I think that at the moment there is still shooting going on. I just have some few reporting of shooting in Naduni. In fact, it's serious. The recording is true. Yeah. And it's not only in Naduni. There are several other areas. They heard that when Chiki, there was a shooting in the afternoon. Yes, and we also had reports of a number of displacements as the situation is so alluding. NATMO is unable to move in at the moment to support the relief items. And I even saw one picture that the district commander was offering some water to some children, and two women were standing by. This might have been earlier on, but they can tell that the situation is fast deteriorating, and there is a need to think. I am still a bit confused that if there is shooting going on now, and things started in the afternoon, and there have not been some steps taken, then it means that overnight it could have a different story. So we have to be able to contain the movement of people, prevent them from moving, so that at least it can enable the security who are saying that at the moment they are overwhelmed in terms of their numbers, in terms of logistics, to be able to contain the situation and prevent escalation. So don't forget that we have living in several communities across.
Yeah, we're having a challenge with that network. Let's see if we can get him on a better line, because I struggle to hear him. But I think fundamentally, the point he's made is that he can still hear shooting tonight, and that the police seem overwhelmed by all this. And his major fear is, because it's in the evening, and this has been happening since afternoon. If we don't get under control tonight, overnight is when people then get a bit more brazen because of the cover of darkness. From what he's saying, it sounds very scary. And it's almost, we haven't given as much attention to this. Even the media, we haven't.
No.
We are not seeing the shocking videos. There's a few of them that we'll be playing, we'll be showing, and you can see that in my rare of homes destroyed. But from what he describes, there's active live fire still happening in that part of the country. Exactly.
The reason why probably you won't find the media, moving into, such a conflict area. It's because for the safety of the media personnel themselves. Yeah. Because then, if you find yourself there, you could be shot. Anything could happen to you. You on my way, just like I said before, he did mention. I mean, I spoke to 2-3 people on the ground, and they told me sporadic, shootings all over the place, going on, and it seems to be moving from one community to the other. And so, you and I know that even the police in Accra sometimes can be overstretched. The police in Kumasi can be overstretched. And so we are talking about the northern region. I mean, how many, vehicles do they have for the entire northern region? How many police officers do they have? And so I am hoping, I thought the regional, minister would have been here to probably appeal to the combatants to lay their weapons, stop fighting.
And these times you see the animals killed in this on your screens. You probably be in Accra, you think, oh, but this is nothing. But you need to understand the geography. You need to understand the demographic, the economic demographic of that area. That is a poor part of the country. The northeast part of the country. These are people's livelihoods. The animals you saw in your shot that have been killed. The homes that you see in the background there torched, as you can see on the television. People see this in Accra, and this is the thing. Just like Ayawaso, it's been happening in Chereponi. It's been happening in other parts of the country in terms of the political violence. We didn't take this drastic measure to fix it because it was far away from us. We're sitting in Accra watching what you're seeing on television, and people will say, "Oh, but these are thatched houses. It's nothing." You've been there. You've seen this.
Yes.
These are the mansions of people in the area.
Exactly. I mean, this is people's mansions. You call them. They have probably their swimming pools in these thatched houses. You see, they have their livestock. They have everything. And you realize that in that part
that's all they have.
Yes, in that part of this country, you have it's one season farming, and so once that season is gone, they have to wait for.
And they're largely farmers.
That's it. And so if they are, food stuff, homes bent, you can see children migrating from one location, from one location to the other on foot, and NADMO. As at yesterday or 2 days ago, said they couldn't go in.
Yeah.
And of course, you don't expect NADMO to go in because largely they will not be protected.
Yeah.
You would want, just like any, relief mission, you expect to be in a convoy where you are being protected. And so you don't go to...
And there's something you said as fundamental. I will come to that substantively, which is that we all expected the Northern Regional Minister to be on the show.
To be here, that's it. To appeal to
and I don't know why government isn't taking advantage of media to reach out to people who will be watching, listening to radio. The only consistent voice I've heard over the last few days has been that of the police.
Yeah.
Because they're on the ground.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you would expect the president to be speaking on this. The Interior Minister should have been, of course, I'm told he's out of the country. The Defense Minister, Parliament. We'll talk about all these agencies and their role in fixing this. And the power of television, because JoyNews is most watched out of Accra.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, they will seize the moment to speak directly to people who are watching or listening and ask people to calm down. Because a lot of they know what the underlying issues are. If you promise, make commitments about solving it, you can never know who is listening. We'll address that shortly. But Mr. Yayan is back, hopefully on a better line. Mr. Yayan, you were describing what you have discovered in terms of the running battles and the sporadic shooting that you heard. I'm just curious. We've just been seeing footage on our screens about the extent of damage. And one of the fundamental things I'm curious to establish is whether we've talked about homes being destroyed, but most importantly, people's farms. Because this is what these people live on. This is their livelihood. What are your own networks on the ground telling you about the extent of damage to property, to farms, etc.?
I think the mode of operation in situations like this destroy property, farm produce, animals, and other modern property, vehicles, motorbikes, and all of this. And so that is what is happening at the moment. The farm produce for most of them, and I suspect that some of them already carted their goods away. And days before this, and this is now happening. Those who have been caught up in the exchange of fire are the ones who have their property in peace. Some have moved without being able to fix it, and that is why their situation is worrying and requires immediate intervention in terms of the provision of relief items to them so that they can survive. So basically, there is anything that is found along the way is destroyed. Animals, farm produce, settlements, and all of those things. So I think there is a need to be very safe. In terms of some of these things, speed is important. And if the NASCO is challenged in view of the current situation of exchange of fire to get in there, then it can be more disastrous for us. What we will now get is, at the moment, there are conflicting figures of the number of deaths, 2 and 3. Some are saying that, yes, there are people who are probably dead in the community that the security has not been able to have a grasp of the casualties. So if this situation continues, where the NASMO is unable to provide relief, then you could have more number of deaths coming in. And indeed, disease also occur. People will begin to fall sick. It might be more difficult for us to contain the situation. And I was just making a point that, we have relations of these people who live in other communities, in other districts. We have some, indeed, the information is that the person who was first attacked in this latest incident was from Togo. And so we have relations of these people also in Togo and other areas. So if the information gets over to several of these communities, then we can have a more bizarre situation for us to contain. Because what you now see is sporadic and escalated violence that will start to occur in almost every community that we have these people living, and that they think that they can attack, have more severe power over. So it can be a very difficult attack. And I'm saying that I would think the happenings on the ground, there should be some more intervention. We understand there is a big opportunity, but they are also complaining of logistics. If they don't have motorbikes to be able to move in to the communities to take care of the situation, even their movement to the communities on motorbikes is something that they need to be very strategic. Because when it comes to violence, they can come.
And Mr. Yaya, there's something that you said that struck me. So you've heard gunfire when you talk to your people on the ground.
Yes.
We know that Chereponi and the other communities affected by this, mostly poor farmers who dominate this part. Where are they getting the guns from? I mean, sophisticated guns, some locally manufactured, they don't come cheap. So where are these guns coming from?
It's a question that we all need to answer. But I would want to say that these guns have not been acquired overnight. The guns were already within the city. That's what I can
So say that again. So, forgive me, but the line, you said the guns were already what?
They were already with the people.
Okay.
Yes. So
but how do they get them? Did they manufacture them themselves?
When it comes to violence, we have several stakeholders. We have the people themselves who might be interested in this conflict. We have other stakeholders who are, for them not residing in the community or residing in the community, who also have resources that tool these people, and the people also have relations who might be wealthy and can rather tool them to engage in violent action for their own interest, So you only have groups on the ground who are the combatants, but you will have those who are also able to restore these combatants to engage in violence. So we have several stakeholders, and we will not rule out the role of the conflict profiteers, those who are profiting from these kinds of institutions.
I like the phrase you use, conflict profiteers. Hold on, let me ask the same question of Mr. Bona. So that is a fundamental question. We've seen how poor they are, but yet they have all these sophisticated AK-47 rifles. The police have seized some of them admittedly locally manufactured. And you think, poor farming communities, why are they spending monies on guns? I'm assuming these are their own monies and that somebody else is not sponsoring this conflict.
It depends. If you look at this conflict has been raging for many decades. Yeah. Let's not just limit it to the Anafos or the the Chokoses and the Concombers. No, it's been raging for. Rawlins, Jerry John Rawlins is still alive. 1994, when he decided to go into the area when there was conflict, he was amazed the sheer number of dead bodies he met on his way. He was amazed. And so you have the conflict-preneurs whose business it is to, sell arms, gun trading. There are people who, just like he did mention, I call them the conflict-preneurs. Theirs is to make sure that they benefit once there is conflict, and the conflict must continue to persist and exist. And so these are some of the things that probably, as a nation, we have not been able to do. The drivers and the causes of this conflict, have we looked at it over the period? There's been commissions over commissions from
In fact, there's a committee that was set up that looked into the Chereponi violence, made recommendations.
Exactly.
Tonight the ranking member on the Defense Interior Committee says that report hasn't been examined yet. They said they're now thinking about hauling the Interior Minister in to the House and asking him questions about why haven't they implemented the recommendations of the committee. But there's some point you made that I want to quickly put to Yao Yang. Albert, so do we know what the fundamental causes of this latest conflict is? What are they? We know somebody was shot that triggered this, but what really is the problem? What is the thing that seemed to be fueling this?
I think to understand the structural causes of this conflict, we need to go back to, and Mr. Bona was talking about conflict. At the moment, we not really, and as he said, the five-member fact-finding committee has presented its report first to the incident. I'm not privy to the report, but I can conjecture that we should not forget that there are historical legacies of conflict that have endowed the entire corridor of time. And those things that probably supported the eruption of the conflict, that the entire area might not yet have addressed.
Yeah.
One is respect for each other. Another is the power struggle among these over chieftaincy and over natural resources. And so
you said natural resource. What natural resource would this be? Land?
Land and all that belongs to land, or that is within land. That is one of the key things. And there are conflicting histories in terms of who owns what, in terms of natural resources, especially land. So if you look at chieftains, you cannot blame that also from land. Or you look at land, you cannot entirely blame that also from And there is this saying that if you are a chief and you do not have land, then it means it's like you are just not a chief. So there are a lot of struggles, that really have not been addressed. And that no one has really looked at this and and delve deeper into the issues, and I said, these are the real reasons for which the people are engaged about. I am not sure, really, the terms of the fact-finding. It might just be probably looking at the, what do you call it, the recent happenings of the conflict. I am not sure. I'm just conjecturing. If I have a copy of it, then probably I will also be better.
Well, even members of parliament do not have copies, so
yeah.
but I don't expect you to have one. Yeah.
They need to go deeper and deeper to understand the relationship issues of the people, and that can inform any strategy going forward. Otherwise, we will continue to firefight and to tend to address the symptoms of the conflict and then leave the structural issues.
Mr. Bonano, you have something to add to that?
Yes, if you go back into history, you realize that just like my colleague, Yaliang did allude to, the immediate, if you want to deal with this conflict and you position it in, with regards to the immediate, causes, you might be probably veering away from the actual causes because you are looking at it. It has to do predominantly with identity crisis, where some people feel that over the years they've probably been ignored. Inequality, land tenure, where some people probably are being referred to as call them settlers, and so they don't kind of have, you can lay claim to the land you are on, and so things like just probably a guinea fowl will trigger the 1994 conflict, where so many people died. You think, we've had trivial things that shouldn't, let people go out, fighting themselves, like cow in if you go back into history, as far back as 1940, where the Concombers had to fight the Gombers because they thought one of their chiefs brought a vet who injected their animals and some of them died. And so, but if you go deep down, it has to do with the fact that, we are, as a nation, we are not dealing with the issue the way it should be dealt with. And so, as far as I'm concerned, Evans, this issue would have to be addressed, not looking at probably just somebody, arguing with someone over some portion of land. It has to do with,
comprehensive look at the historical reasons for
generations.
This. Is it accurate to describe what we're seeing as a tribal conflict?
Yeah, it is a tribal conflict.
It's a tribal conflict.
It's a tribal, yes. It's a tribal conflict.
Okay.
It is just a tribal conflict, and unfortunately so. And the simple reason is that you realize that a section of the community feels that they are marginalized. And the moment, if you look at how what started the conflict in Britain, the Northern Ireland conflict. These are some of the things: inequality, marginalization, inferiority complex. If you look at what is going on in the Middle East, there's the Palestine-Israeli conflict. You look at Alavanyo and Konya conflict. In all this has to do with, where a section of the community or a section of the people feel that would be marginalized. And when the issue has to be dealt with, it's not dealt with properly, where, let's bring them together and ask them to sign a peace accord. When people feel marginalized, then education, we need to continuously educate the people. That is not going on. And so as far as I'm concerned, you see, the key stakeholders probably usually would come to the party very late. I heard about this thing. I thought it was a joke, just the recent one. As far back as Thursday, when I was, someone told me his head looks like gunshots in some of the communities. And I said, well, what would that mean? It could be some hunter. He said, no, it's been sporadic. Then Saturday, I was told it looks like they've started fighting. Yeah. And I said, how could this have happened? It tells you that even the fact-finding committee that was put together to do their work, I would say it is an indictment on their work. It is a serious
But they've done with your work. There's another entity that must execute and implement the plan.
The point is that you are put in place to investigate what is going on. Definitely, it won't take you a day or two to do that. And so when they were doing that, did they not see the potential of, by the time they are done, the conflict.
My point is, even if they did see, it's going to be in a report. I mean, somebody commissioned that work, who takes that report and must act with speed. And I think that's what Yayan talked about, the speed to deal with it decisively, quickly, with adequate resources. Thankfully, we spoke to the regional minister. I want to bring his thoughts on this. This is a couple of days, it's just yesterday actually, on the situation in that part of the country. He has a rose-tinted view of what is happening on the ground. Listen to him.
We have been working day and night, 24/7, to ensure that the situation is brought to normalcy. It's unfortunate that the fight has ignited again, because last week Tuesday, the report by the committee that was set up was presented to the Minister of Interior. But little did we know that this unacceptable violent confrontation will happen between the two ethnic communities. So RISEC, that is the Regional Security Council, together with the two DISECs, that is the DISEC of Chereponi District as well as the Saboba District Security Committees. We are working closely, and also the police and the military, they have deployed enough security on the ground, and we are working closely with the key stakeholders to see to it that this thing is brought to finality so that that conflict doesn't happen. So I just want to assure the general public that the situation will be normalized. It's unfortunate that it happened, but it will be okay.
So on the ground in Chereponi right now, what exactly is happening from the information that you've gathered? No, what exactly is happening on
for
the
now, the situation is calm. The security, especially, we put more military to give backup to the police. So they have been positioned at very strategic communities that we thought that there could be that potential attack, and it has been brought under control. It has been brought under control.
So that then it keeps recurring. So is there anything that is being done to ensure justice so perpetrators are brought to book, so people don't take advantage and continue doing this?
Yes, that is what we are going to do. We are now going to ensure that we use the duty bearers of the area, ensuring that the youth group, the local authorities, opinion leaders, and we get even people, the religious leaders, both Christian community and then the Muslim community, to come together to see how the local people can own the process of getting final solution to the problem. So I'm very convinced that the methodology that we are going to use this time, the Chereponi intermittent conflict that we are witnessing in recent past, will come to an end.
So that's the regional minister there. He said the situation is calm, and this was yesterday. He says enough security has been sent to the place. We know both of these sessions to be untrue as of tonight, because it's not calm, and the police themselves say they need resources, and so there is lack of it in that part of the country. But really, what can he say apart from that in terms of giving people hope that things will get better? We'll look at that. We'll look at how the communication from government can help address this problem in that part of the country. Stay with us here on PMS. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll examine what we just heard there from the regional minister and look forward and look ahead to, so what can we do to bring lasting, sustainable peace to Chereponi and the areas affected tonight? You're still live on PM Express here on JoyNews channel, still looking into the unfolding situation in the Chereponi district, but and other surrounding communities, including parts of Yendi and Bunkurugu, Yonyon, where several lives have already been lost. 3, we are told, in the last count. 1,800 people displaced so far, including women and children. We just had the regional minister speak a short while ago before we went for that break. I want to bring in Mr. Yoyang on this, and I'll hear from you, and also let's quickly explore what the key solutions could be. Mr. Yoyang, so you heard the regional minister say to us, this is just yesterday, that the situation is calm, enough security has been sent in, He also says the situation will be normalized. In terms of the communication, look, in every conflict, there's volumes of research written about communication and its impact on conflict. In every conflict, communication, what you say is important. You listen to him, and does that help the situation on the ground?
Thank you very much. I think that basically, maybe before we move back, I would appeal to fire. I will also call on their leaders to appeal to their men fire so that there can be some there can be the duty and probably be able to support stabilize the situation so that we do not have many casualties count at the end of the all. I think in a situation like this, what the minister said, and I said that was yesterday, it probably was based on the information he had at the time that informed the kind of community. And I think also in a situation like that, there is a need to be circumspect in order not to escalate the situation. Don't forget, he is the regional minister in charge of the Northeast, that area, for that matter. And so he will need to communicate in a manner that does not create some kind of despair. He would want to continue to do so. But the thing is, after that communication, we might be doing a different thing, trying to ensure that there is stability in the area and that there is calm, that people cease fire. So the communication can be different from the actual action that people take. So I am not really privy to what informed the communication, but this is what I can protect that, and that is what I know. There are someone who is the leader and who is the head of reset who need to give some kind of assurances and not to create panic and fear that they even escalate the situation. But the actions, they don't fight. But like you said, the story is different, and that is where all of us are calling for big interventions, and that is quite strategic in order that we can curtail the escalations in those communities. Because as it's no longer just even part Chereponi itself seems to be calm, and there is heavy presence in Chereponi, but the communities are where we are reporting incidences.
Yeah.
So I think there is real need to those areas, expand security to cover those areas. And we had to say that they are making sure that those communities that are hotspots, they have men on the ground in order to curtail the situation. That is what happens, that we will be able to change the situation, especially over.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Mr. Yoyang. He is the Alba Yoyang is the National Network Coordinator at OneUp. But let me come to you, Mr. Bona. So, knowing the historical antecedents of what we've witnessed in tonight, what must the government do now? First, we need to arrest what is happening now. We need to bring it under control. Thankfully, the police publicly giving us an indication of how that could happen. More resources. They have the personnel. I think more bodies have been sent in, but they need logistics. They talk about vehicles. NADMO needs same, because the sheer volumes of people displaced is huge, almost 2,000 people. This consecutive estimate, because they haven't been able to do proper work because of the conflict. First, so in the short term, what must we do?
Yeah.
And in long term?
The short term, few things have been done immediately.
Because I was now to talk about
have already, told us what they need, resources in terms of vehicles. But I would also say short-term communication is very important, where other bodies, the religious leaders, the chiefs, all stakeholders on the ground, who probably these people respect, should be involved in appealing to them to lay down their weapons in the short term. whilst relief, support goes to the people, where are they going to sleep? Children, food, water. It means that water bodies would be polluted, medicines, support for all these people would have to go in timely. And also we have to probably be looking at the medium to long term, the actual drivers, causes of this conflict. And if you ask me, it predominantly has to do with, where, largely some of the tribes there feel very marginalized. Some of the tribes they feel that, they are not respected. The sense of identity, they are told they don't own any land. And so these are things that over the decades, keeps bringing up this conflict. And so we either would have to call a spade and ask that, well, these people are supposed to own this land or they don't own it. But
so you're suggesting there should be some state intervention, deliberate one,
intentional one, which I think we haven't been bold enough to do because of, once again, the fear of being victimized in terms of politics.
Just for the sake of time, knowing what the police have said tonight, the logistics they need, should the state be prioritizing this as probably the most important security challenge now, that then will trigger the release of all the natural resources that we can master for that part of the country before this expands into something more?
I was hoping that, looking at the images we are seeing and the, those who are on the ground reporting and telling us how this thing is spreading, probably the president should have spoken by now. And once the president speaks, I believe that is policy. It means that if we have, let's say, 16,000, 17,000 military officers, how many police officers? A large number of them will be deployed there. Most of our resources be deployed there to bring the situation, under control for some days. Then we try to solve, look for some solutions.
I must say I'm grateful that you joined us, Adam Bonner, with the Security Warehouse Limited. Earlier you had the Albert Young, also with One Up West Africa Network for Peace Building, also joining us. And the most important message you can get from this conversation is peace. I know there are real fundamental issues at stake here, which is making people feel they have the right to bear arms, but look at the livelihoods that have been destroyed. There's no reason why that should happen. And so definitely add our voices to the call for people to just stay calm and cease fire and give peace a chance. My name is Evan Spencer. Join us again tomorrow. We have a fascinating conversation now that the NDC and NPP is about to now sit this week, possibly, to try and fix the problem with party militias. We're going to have the two parties represented here as we get them to start that conversation and hopefully get to a place where we can disband these party militias. So you make a day tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening.